Hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to the Brooklyn Public Library for and with Abdellah Taïa and Meena Alexander. This event was a total delight to put together with Belladonna Collaborative, Seven Stories Press, and Asian American Writers Workshop. I'd like to introduce Anna from Belladonna Collaborative, who will be introducing our readers for tonight. Thank you so much.
Hi. I'm actually just going to introduce Abdellah, and then Sophia from the Asian American Writers Workshop will introduce Meena after he reads. But thank you all for coming. It's very sweet to see so many people here. So, in 1973, Abdellah Taïa was born in the public library of Rabat in Morocco, where his father was the janitor and where his family lived until he was 2 years old. He's the author of 6 novels, including Salvation Army and An Arab Melancholia, both published by Semiotext, and Infidels by Seven Stories Press. His novel Le Jour du Roi, about the death of Morocco's King Hassan II, won the 2010 Prix de Flore. He also directed and wrote the screenplay for the 2013 film adaptation of Salvation Army. His books are translated into many languages. Taïa made history in 2006 by coming out in his country where homosexuality is illegal. His commitment to defense of homosexuals in Muslim countries has made him one of the most prominent Arab writers of his generation, both a literary transgressor and cultural paragon, according to Interview magazine. He has lived in Paris since 1998. Welcome, Abdellah.
Bonsoir. Assalamu alaikum in Arabic. I'm going to be alone. Meena, you will join me? After my reading. So I sit. Thank you very much for inviting me. It's something like not even a dream. I never dreamed to be in Brooklyn Public Library, and here I am in Brooklyn Public Library. It seems like a scene from some American series, you know. Suddenly you see the hero passing by Brooklyn Public Library, and I have to imagine myself inside of that American series, and I am in it, in order to realize that this is real. But seriously, thank you so much for inviting me. Thank you, Anna. Anna, where are you? Anna. Thank you, Belladonna. Thank you, Brooklyn Public Library. Thank you, all the people who love me here. I don't know what I did to deserve it, but I know that there are some people who love me here, and it's another miracle, because America seems so far away for when we live in Morocco, when we live in Saleh. And yes, thank you. So they asked me to read from Belladonna published, I gave them a text. This is a series they do. What's the name of the series? What? Chapter series, and they asked me to give them a text. I write in French language. I'm coming from the ones who don't that. I'm coming from a Moroccan family speaking only in Arabic. It took me many years to master French language. I became a writer in French language, which is another mystery to me. I don't know how I did that that miracle. And in 2003, Bard College invited me to teach for a spring semester. First, they wanted me to teach in French, and 3 months before I started, they changed their mind and they said, no, you have to do it in English. So I said, okay, yes, I can do that. So I relearned by myself English. And I remember that at that time I tried to write a short story in English, and it was called like my first name, Abdullah, which means the slave of Allah. And I wrote a short story called Moroccan Slave. And 2 years ago, I was in Italy, happy, in love, with a German man, and in an island near Sicily called Alicudi. I don't know if you know Alicudi. It means the mountain of Ali, and it's an island where there is nothing, just the mountain. And so I was very happy with this man during 1 week, and I don't know why. I got the desire to write something about my father. All the books I wrote until now are totally dominated, directed by the voice of my mother, my dictator mother. All the mise en scène she had to do in our lives, all the things, the lies she had to invent in order for our survival, the sorcery she had to put sometimes on people, all that are in almost all my books. So my father is missing somehow. So I decided in the middle of this happiness to write something. And the text, I don't know why I wrote it in English. So something in the middle of this happiness, the father came out, and the text is extremely sad. So I don't want you to be sad. I'm going to read from this, an excerpt from this text, and it's a tribute to a man that I knew, my father. When I knew him, he was already killed by the society, and he was not the man men are supposed to be. So voilà, I'm going to try, and sorry for my bad English. Alors, all this happened so fast. At the end of that summer of 1996, I decided that I am a writer, whatever they say. I will do more and more. I will be more and more a writer just to prove them wrong. I will put my entire life, my body, my memories, my family, my sex in words and construct something that will express me and only me. Naked me, distorted me, hopeless dictator me. I will try, I will pretend, I will lie, I will cheat, I will betray them, all of them, and then I was so sure of that at that time, I will be happy, alone with the text that came out of me, and happy. On the 2nd of March 1996, my father Muhammad died. He was 66 years old. We buried him. My big brother, Abdelkbir, finally gave my mother more money than the usual in order to organize a funeral with dignity for our father. She was proud of the big brother. All the neighbors were proud. They were saying, "What a good son. He did the best funeral we have ever seen here in our district. Hay salam." I was not sad. I was angry, so extremely angry. I thought that we all killed our father. We abandoned him with his contagious illness. He was alone more than 6 years, the last years. 9 children and 1 wife turned their backs on him, including me. He died alone and sad. Before the illness, he was melancholic and sexually obsessed with our mother. That was what kept him going. Sex with the mother, Mbarka. The body of that merciless woman as a planche de salut, an anchor for him. And when he retired from his badly paid work, he got sick. My mother decided that we should let him heal alone. It's for his own good, she said. It's in his own interest. Don't get close to him. He had a very long 6 years to understand that it was over for him and that he should leave, go. Muhammad must go. In order to do that, he started to train himself how to get the courage to do that, to go by choice, to finish himself by himself, alone, so alone, in the sadness of the cruel world, the cruel family. The end. There is something else after that. When he got sick, I was still in high school. When he died, it was 3 months before I got my degree in French literature from the University of Mohammed V in Rabat. I did not ask his opinion about my studies. I did not tell him that I chose French because that's a language I'm going to use to save myself from our poverty and to be more ambitious, focused on the target, to go one day to Paris. He was dying, drowning, passing from melancholy to deep sadness, from oversexed Muhammad to the Muhammad without sex, and me in the same house like him. I was constructing my life, my future, mon avenir without him. I was planning my coming years, and I was becoming at the same time as merciless as my mother, heartless. I knew what I was doing, and I had to keep doing it. We did not catch his illness. He took it with him into death. The day he died, the second day of the spring, I swear there was something happy in the house, relieved. It's over, he's gone. No sickness here among us. We cried, we did everything we were supposed to do in the Moroccan society when things like this happen. We showed how devastated we were. We played it very well, and the neighbors were impressed. His big son did a good job. What a beautiful funeral. His last exit was something. My mother was happy with her first son, Abdelkbir, and us, the rest of us, 6 sisters and 2 brothers, including me, we started to realize what we did. We killed him. We did not tell that to each other, but our eyes and our tears were saying all that. We are criminals. It started with the father. Who is next? I did not want to go with them to the cemetery to see that thing. Strange man taking charge of a body that we knew so very well and that we had abandoned. I did not want to hear all these surahs from the Quran they were reciting like robots. I did not want to say au revoir this way, surrounded by people who did not really know what was really going on. Muhammad should be alive. He should be alive. They forced me to go. I closed my eyes and I went with them. They told me I should say this and recite that. I wanted to tell them that I was his killer. I said this to the guy next to me. We killed him, we killed him. He did not understand, of course. He was thinking that my sadness made me say nonsense. He replied, "Don't say that, my son. Don't say that. We are all made from earth, and to earth we shall return again." The usual words were repeated again and again. No place for the truth anywhere. No place to be me. No place to be you, to be me, to be what I think I am without shame. Not only was I a killer, but I was a homosexual too. 2 sins, big sins. My father died before I told him, before we shared the moment that I would dare to say, my father, Father, I am your son, and I want to tell you that I like men. Please don't reject me like the others. Please, I need your blessing. I can't live without your blessing. Please, Father, look at me. During 6 years, he was alone in our house and me focusing on my ambitions. I found, of course, now time to go to be with him and to ask him that, to bless me again as an adult. He was tender, Muhammad. He smoked a lot and he had a lot of sex. When I was a little, I was often sick, stomach aches. We had no money for medicine. My medicine was my father. He used to take a little white plate, and with his plume and his artisanal ink, he would write words in Arabic on it, words from the past, from the mystical places he had been, from the free Islam he believed in, phrases to heal, phrases to stop the evil, phrases from the Prophet Muhammad, phrases from the saints. Then, with orange flower water on his fingers, he would dissolve the words softly. Drink, drink, my son, drink this water and you will recover. He did not need to force me to drink it. I loved so much this magic. I loved this time with him, the moments when we were doing things considered by others as crazy, things that illiterate people do, things that only women do. I believed in my father and I loved him, his words, his water, and the sensitivity he was teaching me, a sensibility that comes from a past long gone, a past far away, but still present around us, a sensibility and a knowledge. What is visible can become invisible. What is invisible is what we are living in. What we write is what is already written, and hope, our hope, comes always with limitations and illnesses. I drink and I drink and I drink the water from my father, the air coming out of his nose, the smell of his sweetened body, the taste of his skin. It's in the words transformed into water. I drink Arabic as a language. I drink my father and I drink myself. They are about to bury him. I don't want to cry. I cry. With tears only inside of me, I cry. With no sound. I want to scream, but I can't. I have to be a man. I play the man. My brothers do the same. All this is fake, 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 fake. Do my brothers know that I am homosexual? Should I tell them now? It's the right moment, no? I think it's the right moment. In a few seconds, it will be too late. The father will disappear, and the world will be only us, the sons, the sisters, without him. All of us more and more directed by a rigid mother. I did not tell my brothers that day or any other day. I touched the hand of another man next to me and I told him, I want to tell my father something now. What should I do? That man gave me an answer that I will never forget. Tell him what you want in your heart. He is with you in your heart. And if it's not enough, send him a letter. What did he mean by that? And how come people around me never speak in such a beautiful way? Why? I opened my eyes, I looked at the man. Who is he? No time to ask further questions, no time for more truths. The man had told the one truth. My father had been alone. was alone, died alone. I will be more and more alone. Now it's time to ask for his forgiveness. I suddenly had the courage. I wanted to witness this last moment, la disparition définitive, the definite disappearance. But I couldn't. I left. I went out of the cemetery and I sat next a woman, a beggar, and I started to cry, finally. The woman did nothing. She continued to beg for money from the people passing by. She was not insensitive, no. She just knew that in order to help me, she should not bother me. A woman, a stranger, another one, helped me that day. I put my hand in my pocket in order to give her a little thing. She saw that. She said, "No money, please, not from you." She continues, you are the son of the man who they just buried, yes? Yes, madam. Here is my advice for you," she says. "Eat your father. Feed him with your own food, your own body. Eat, drink for him, drink for you and for him. That's your duty now, to make him stay alive." I wanted to confess to her everything, the killing, the homosexuality, the ambitions, everything, but I couldn't. What she was saying included all that. I kissed her hand several times. She let me do that because she knew that was the right thing I should do, to kiss someone's hands, to do that with all my heart, crying, confused, angry, and seeking for a little bit of understanding. She gave me all that without naming anything and without judging. I went to a dairy shop and I ordered a big glass of cold milk and a pastry and millefeuille. My father bought me the same things when in my childhood he took me once with him for a whole day into his work in la Bibliothèque Générale of Rabat, Library of Rabat. On our way back, we went to the old part of the city and he bought me that, the milk and the millefeuille. He did not buy anything for himself and I didn't offer to share with him the milk and the pastry. I ate it all and very slowly. He went into a corner, he sat on the sidewalk and he started to smoke his cheap cigarette, favorite. I did what the woman told me to do. I ate for him and for me. And I started to walk back home and I started at the same time to talk to him. Father, I am Abdellah and I am your son. Father, you are with me and you are still alive. Father, I will never let your name die. I know the story. I know what your big brother told you when you turned 20. He said to you, you are only my half-brother. Our mother gave birth to you after the death of our father. She did something wrong after her husband died with some man. You are not my brother completely. You will not get the heritage from my father, but I allow you to take the name, to keep our name, my name, that name, Taïa, Taïa. You fell down, Father. You lost your consciousness, your sense of being in this world, and you accepted his story. You never dared to question it, or to go to court to sue him. You lived in the shadow of your big brother, betrayed by him year after year. He treated you the way the Moroccans treat the beggars, the sick dogs. We throw the leftovers to them. We never really look at them. Father, I can't do anything right now. I don't have the power. I don't have the money, but I promise this, and in my own way, I will never let you down. I will never let you down. I will write, I will put words in books that will have that name, Taïa, on the cover. I will make that name yours more than his. I will put in that name what you are, what I am through you. I will get your revenge, la vengeance, al-intiqam. I will keep dreaming and drinking the cold milk. Me too, I will be merciless with them. I will go far away and I will take you with me. They will not be able to stop me from making the projects true and real. I will write, Father. I will say I, and in that I, you will be with me, in me. I will keep you alive by doing something bad. In the eye of the sun, I will be naked. Me, slightly freed from their rules. Your son, your homosexual son, as you know me, hidden and searching for the light, for another justice. Father, you are not dead. If you are one day, it will mean that I am dead too. Father, in me you live, in me you can write, in my body you can change and scream finally. Thank you. The text is very long. This is not even the half of it, but I think I should stop. And I'm sorry. I hope you didn't get only the sentence, because now that I am 40, it's the truth that I take from life is that human beings don't say the right things to each other while there is still time. One day it's too late and we are just left alone with those things we were supposed to say, and we never do these things. Not only about homosexuality, not only about me, but about the others. If I suffered as a homosexual in Morocco, my father suffered more, much, much more from other things. And I didn't have the generosity to ask him. It's a big shame. I think I will live with this shame until the end of my life, that he was there next to me, and I was only obsessed with me. So voilà. So I think I wrote this text to bring him back and try a little bit, at least in the writing, in the books, to resolve something, if I might say. Voilà, thank you. And now I ask Meena to join me, please. I don't want to be alone.
Hi everyone, can you hear me? So I'm not Meena, but I'll be introducing Meena. I'm Sophia from the Asian American Writers Workshop, and Meena has a long history of being published on our website and has some books coming out, and we're really excited to introduce her, and thank you so much for that beautiful reading. Meena Alexander is a prize-winning poet and scholar, described as undoubtedly one of the finest poets of contemporary times by The Statesman. She has 2 new books forthcoming in June: her volume of poems, Atmospheric Embroidery, and the anthology she edited, Name Me a Word, Indian Writers Reflect on Writing. Her honors include grants and fellowships from the John Simon Guggenheim Foundation, the National Endowment for the Humanities, Fulbright Foundation, Rockefeller Foundation, National Council for Research on Women, Arts Council of England, the Mbangwe Yezizwe International Poetry Award from South Africa, the New York Foundation for the Arts, as well as the South Asian Literary Association's Distinguished Achievement Award in Literature. She is a distinguished professor in English at the Graduate Center, Hunter College, CUNY, and we're very welcomed to have her. We're very honored to welcome her tonight. Thank you so much.
Il ne faut pas tomber, hein?
Non, il faut pas tomber, non.
Oh, what an honor and such a moving reading, Abdellah. I feel that after it, my words are useless. Mais vraiment, it's an honor because it's such a beautiful, loving piece you wrote to your father. It is a letter. It is a letter, and I remember when I had no idea you wrote it in English. I thought, all right, well, someone translated it. I thought maybe Anna Paula translated, I didn't know. But, you know, this brings me really to the heart of what I wanted to talk to you about, because vraiment, it was a great pleasure really to immerse myself in your writing. I felt as though I was swimming. I'm not a good swimmer, but still I try. Swimming in this great river into which many languages were pouring. Because many of us, like you and me, we have many languages. And there's this marvelous line in one of your novels where the grandmother says, you must have the freedom to invent yourself. And in this lovely, lovely piece, you know, that you read for us, you say you will use French to save yourself. I mean, you're addressing your father. So talk to us, Abdellah, about this flow through language, almost like a metamorphosis that you have. If you wish.
Yeah, of course. No, I became a writer in French language. I have to justify that. I will always have to do that. And no, I said in the beginning that it's a mystery to me how I went from only speaking Arabic in a poor family, big family, and only Arabic. That's what the majority of Moroccan people speak. That's the language. Le français, French exists. We know it, but not all the Moroccans speak French fluently and every day. And luckily, they don't do that because it's an Arab country, Morocco. And but I didn't have the project with French to save myself. It was not the idea that I will go to this language because it's the language of, let's say, freedom. Because as it is used in Morocco, in how I discovered it in the 70s and the beginning of the 80s, it's a language that, in the text, there is this, the moment where I start to talk about how my father was betrayed by his brother, my uncle. The uncle became rich. And what is really strange to me is, although my father was betrayed by him, we kept going to see them. And I remember my mother has to put on us beautiful clothes. We didn't have beautiful clothes. We just cleaned them really clean. And we went there, and the cousins were speaking in French. So the first word I heard I think that I remember in French was my cousin, her name is Fatima. She's now, I think, 70 years old, just to give you I'm 44. I was, sorry?
Was it a bébé?
No, not a baby. 44 is not a baby. I don't want to hear that. So I was playing in the house, the beautiful house they had, and I don't know. As a good poor boy, I was always touching the walls. You know, the poor touch the walls. They You know, they touch the walls. And she said, I remember this, I'm going to say it in Arabic, and then I translate in English. She said, هيديك الصوفاج. هذاك الصوفاج. But she didn't say it because even in Moroccan the dialect we heard the word sauvage. She said it with a French accent. So I can't go to French language in order to save myself if my first meeting with the French language is this insult and this way of being reduced. And I went to French language because I was so much in love with my big brother, and he is coming from the French. The public system in Morocco at that time was everything was in French. Me is when they make everything in Arabic. So I wanted to be him. I wanted to kiss him, to play with his mustache, and he was with, I don't know. He chooses the side of the uncle because they were intellectuals. Because the people this is the Woodstock generation. Just to give you Woodstock was in Morocco too. So they were living in another world. So and they were speaking French. So it's not that I wanted to be like them. I wanted to use that thing they had in order to do with it something. So I can't say that I wanted to invent myself far away from my sisters and my mother. I never had that. I was really in love with my sisters. My sisters were like the Egyptian movie stars. They were beautiful. They were because we all slept in one room, 9 people. We were sleeping on the floor. We had no beds. The idea to have a bed is still strange to me. So we were like every night you put not even carpet, البطانية. How you say البطانية in English? Covers. Blankets, and we would all sleep there. So the idea of inventing myself is strange to me. I wanted to be like them. Of course, to be gay separated me from them, but that's just a social separation. The heart links are still there. I'm not rewriting my past. I'm just trying to see what was important, what was going on that is important, that I should not forget about. It's very important that this. So je n'ai jamais aimé le français. I never liked French. It was for the bourgeois, for the people who were like for this Fatima cousin, she sauvage. Or for instance, when you hear someone who wants to say something pour écarter, séparer, separation. I got that as an. So I used French language. So I had to be clever, to be a cheater, to be, you have to take something. And I know that for so many people, French language is the synonym of so many beautiful things. But at first, that was not the case for me.
That's so fascinating because, English is not my mother tongue. And when I was reading what you wrote about Arabic, that is the truth somewhere speaks in that language, which is also beyond language in a way. And then with the colonial language, there's a kind of intimate violence, which is, for you it may come from the cousin, but it's there. It's I don't know. It's like a glass through which you then make something. One of the most moving. I almost wept. I read it so many times in this Belladonna chapbook that you wrote. Is when you were ill, and your father wrote some words in Arabic and said, drink it. And I felt that this is the truth of love, that we incorporate the spirit, and even in some way the flesh of those we love, that your father was giving you this great gift of life again, you know? And so I just wanted you to talk to us a little bit, if you would like, about that very beautiful and mystical. I think it's mystical.
It is mystical, but it was not happening only in my family. It's something that happens in Morocco. I hope they still do now. It has to do with what we call in Arabic fiqh. You know, fiqh, it's like an imam or a religion teacher, you know. You know, there is this first school we go to before the elementary. We call it limsid in Arabic. And that guy has some mystical power, and every time you had something, you have something wrong in your body, you can go to see him. So although Morocco changed and became much more modern, but all these things are still there. And I'm so happy that are still there, because there is some truth in that. So the fact that my father wrote this, I don't know, just the idea, like the idea that I drink the words of my father. That's
fantastic.
It's just like I don't know. It's like the universe, l'univers, résumé, shrinked in just one little plate. And after that, but it was really beautiful. He would, il souffle dedans. He breathed in. And what is strange now that I'm 44 as well, it's the smell of my father is coming back. He died in 1996, and voila. This is maybe cliche things for you, or maybe poor people do, but for me that's something extremely important that I cherish now extremely, like the fact that it's more important than to discover Victor Hugo for me, or because what is really important for me as a human being is this possibility that something is really happening between us in this thing, life, reality. Some miracle, someone who would dare to do something, gesture, voice, something crazy, something. But usually it's very simple. Very simple. Just someone has to dare to speak in a certain way, to be that way. Maybe my mother was a little bit like that as well, although she was very rigid, but she had that power as well. So these things, I think they are all in my writing. That's my first meetings with the idea of being a writer.
Oh, okay, yeah. So
it's linked to that.
How interesting. So that power, that almost magical, mystical power, which we feel in your writing, which is the great gift, I think, that you give us as a writer, right? I mean, as a writer, what could be more important or powerful than to be able to touch someone else by delving into your own heart? And I feel that you're doing that. You know, I so admire the
Not
fact
only the heart, but the flesh. The
so
blood.
Talk to us.
Yeah. I can't. I will, because I never plan to be a writer. Every time I plan a book, I don't plan it or construct it based on other books. I always just see what I am, what are my obsessions, what life is doing to me, and from that I construct the book, and I put in it things that are real, that are. I don't invent. I don't think I'm capable of inventing. I use things that are real. I construct them in order to be literature, yes. But things has to be, I don't know, something sacrificed. I feel like if I say lies, that will not be good literature. This is my...
Well, there is, I think, in all your writing, this sort of shock of immediacy, which I think comes from what you're now describing, that you use what is real, right? Not the lace and the fabrics, but something that comes out of the flesh, out of the corps vécu, si vous voulez, enfin, this. And we do feel that, I think, as readers. But I was going to say something I do admire very much is your ability with that to flow into different languages. I mean, it is a fluid motion, I feel. It's not, c'est pas coupé comme ça, c'est plutôt quelque chose qui coule, enfin. And I feel that the power of it, you know, is
But that's not coming from French.
not from French, no, but
It's
from inside you.
I would
through
even
something.
say coming
not
from
French.
the rhythm of the people I had around me in Morocco, the way they speak.
How interesting! Yeah,
But
yeah,
not.
yeah,
But
yeah,
we
yeah.
all have that.
Yeah.
We hear the people we love. We hear them in our voice, the rhythm they use, the phrases,
Yeah.
and I can tell you that Moroccans are very good at narrating things, like simple things and like banal things, just to go souk to the market and go back. My mother, every time, she would make an épopée, how is it? Like a legend out
Yeah,
just
yeah,
of
yeah.
that she went to the market
Yeah.
and what she did. This ability to narrate, to construct le récit. This, it's le récit, the narrative, to narrate, the ability to just something you lived and you are capable of telling it and retelling it again and again and again. I heard the same stories many times from my mother, from my aunt Mas'ouda, and I think the rhythm of their phrases, the way they were speaking, is in me, and the flow, we could say the flow of their phrases is, I think, in my writing.
You know, that makes perfect sense to me. My mother tongue is Malayalam, and I don't write in Malayalam. I'm actually illiterate. I wrote a book called Illiterate Heart once because I was afraid of learning the script. But in my English poetry, people who know Malayalam say the rhythm is there. Because the rhythm is what we move with first, right? As children, as infants. I think it's what guides our life.
And it's something that we are not totally conscious of.
Ah, c'est très important, ça.
Yeah,
Oui,
it
oui.
comes out. It comes out during the process of writing or remembering, or you telling something. It's like when we fell in love. When we fall in love, you have to seduce. You have to be them. You cannot only seduce with your body and your eyes. You have to tell things. Shahrazad. It's more than Shahrazad. You have suddenly, because you are in love, you have suddenly the ability to tell something that will not only impress that person you are in love with, but it will change him and enter his heart and his body, and you can do whatever you want with him after that. Or her. That's something that I am very good at. Because I saw my mother doing it with my father. I saw my aunt, who was... my aunt was a prostitute.
On your mother's sister?
No, my aunt is
Oh,
the
in the
sister.
picture.
It's she's here. My aunt Mas'ouda. She's it's her. The sister of my father. She I don't know. Elle a dirigé. She directed the sexual life of my father before he met my mother. She made him marry so many women and then get divorced because she knew so many women like her in the mausoleums and the countryside where they were living. And what is really fascinating with her, they accepted her money. They accepted because at that time they were really poor, la famine. It was hunger. At that time, it was we call it in French l'année du l'âme el boun, when French people were given to Moroccans. I don't know how to say this. Something to have, thing to eat. So they allowed her to be that free women, and they never exclude her. She was there with us all the time, Mas'ouda.
She sounds very powerful in the family. I mean,
She powerful, but not in a way that she
you could
would.
see it
No,
outside,
but
yeah.
she was there sitting. I knew her. She was very old already.
She was older than your father.
Yeah, much more.
Ah.
So what? I don't know why I am speaking about her, but it's very, very important that this. You were speaking already about saving, something that will save me.
Yeah.
I think this woman
Huh.
saved at a certain point the family by sacrificing herself.
So she was very important to the
To
family.
me, she is,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, in some of your writing, I think in the Arab Melancholy, enfin je crois, and also here, and this rings very true to me because we see this in India, that you walk and there are beggars. There are people who, you know, ask you for money who are very, very poor. You see it here also. Enfin, quelqu'un d'autre? Should we wait or? We'll wait 2 minutes, yeah. Maybe they're making an announcement. Yeah. So, no, I was thinking, you know, just to move from your aunt, I was thinking about women, particularly how once or twice in your writings, maybe more than that, you know, and I say it's familiar to me from India where you see poor people begging who have great dignity in their own lives, you know, but they don't have money, so they ask for money. There are also people all around us here, you know, in that situation. And the old woman here, and also the beggar, and in some of your other writing, who encounters you and gives you a gift almost of life, you know, that reaching into you. She says, I don't want money from you, you know, and giving you something, you know, and I was very moved by that.
Well, we are all looking for this kind of moment in our lives, this little bit of miracle that someone would understand without us telling him all the details or without even speaking. It's like, and I think strangers are very good at that, more than the people we know. It's like in that, I think there is a line very famous in Streetcar named Desire.
The kindness of strangers,
Yeah,
right?
She says that Blanche, I think she says that she always trusted the kindness of strangers.
Right.
It's like sometimes just here in the metro. The only thing I love in Paris is the metro, because a lot of things happen in the metro, in the subway, between the people, things that you can sense.
I think I'm always if there is a crowded place and there are people who are next to each other, I mean, amazing things happen in the subways here. Often people may bury themselves, but it's constantly there. You know, you have all your antennae have to be out, and but I you know. This is a very silly question.
Tell me.
No
problem.
No, you said you didn't set out to be a writer. So when you were a little boy, did you think, I want to do this or I want to do this? Or
Yeah, it was cinema. I wanted to be a filmmaker.
Okay,
At the age of 12, because of the Egyptian movies.
Fantastic.
It's I think that's the only thing we had, the TV, and the Egyptian film. It was Friday. And we were waiting, counting the days for those black and white images to appear on the screen. And for me, that's where I decided that maybe I should do the same things I'm watching. All these people, that they are somehow close to us, although they were speaking in Egyptian Arabic. But the reality, they were talking about it somehow close to us. And we were, with my sisters, totally in love with them, with the actresses, with the actors. And we were talking again and again and again. And this is something, I don't know if I think it doesn't exist anymore. At that time, someone who saw a film, he will, not only he will watch it, but he will have the duty to tell it to the other people.
Oh, who didn't get to see the
Who
film,
didn't get to them.
right?
So we
Yeah.
lived in that. The same film,
Right.
watched and told again and again and again. And I think this is how I developed in my mind, in my brain, the ability of being obsessed with certain things and thinking of them again and again and again and again. But not only alone, because I hate that I am alone with my obsessions. I always want that my obsessions to be the others people obsessions.
Oh, so you share them?
No, not to share them. I want them to be already in them. It's just like meeting point of obsessions. We don't have, like, I don't, because if you explain your obsessions to the others, it's so boring, it's nothing. But if suddenly we have the same obsessions,
that's the great dream. Yeah?
that's the miracle of life. And it can be very silly. It has to be very silly, actually. It has to be something very, very poor, like what is left for the poor people as a culture, as you know what they leave to the poor people. Luckily for me, we had the Egyptian cinema, and the Egyptian cinema is grand, is big, is important, is yes, we have the genre we called al-film al-Masri, like, you know, when you hear the expression Egyptian movie, it's a genre in itself, but within that genre there are a lot of genres and a lot of big actors, a lot of big filmmakers that the West has no idea about, but it's not so.
It's one of the great cinemas of the world.
Egyptian too bad for them. But luckily for me, I had that, and I decided, how can I make something like this, but in my reality, with my sisters, with what is going on in the neighborhood. This ability to work on images is coming from that. That was the dream from the age of, I think, 11 or 12.
And you know, when you were talking
to be a writer, and we can all agree on that, is a bourgeois thing. It's the people who read. It's like when you go to the theater in Paris. It's only white, and.
But the recitation is also performance, you know?
But that's something else. I'm talking about to become a writer, to publish, to go to Paris, to find a publishing house, and you have to be so much ruthless in order to do that. So you have to plan all these things. So I spent many years planning all these things, how I'm going to do it, how I'm going to, and not only that, but with myself, I was. Like the conversation we are having now, I was preparing myself. This might be.
We both were.
No, because it's like silly dreams. You know, you see already yourself doing certain things. Otherwise, you cannot.
You can't do it.
Just be with you here and me speaking in English in front of you. It's so weird. It can't be.
And we never met before.
And we never met before. It is New York. It's impossible. It's not true.
Well, you know, you said, Abdellah, at the beginning you said an American series. Maybe we are part of this, you know?
Another images. In images. Maybe this is not true.
Well, there are people here. They'll tell us. Talk to us about Marilyn Monroe and that amazing. You know, when you were saying the repetition of the film and how you do it in that book, you know, The River of No Return.
It's in the this novel translated by Seven Stories Press.
Infidels,
Infidels.
Yes. It's so beautiful and powerful.
Merci
Please
beaucoup.
Talk to us. Oui, j'aimais beaucoup.
We are all in love with Marilyn Monroe. What can I say? If there is an image of God or Allah, of angels, it's Marilyn Monroe. If if kindness and sexual kindness exists, it's Marilyn Monroe. If there is somehow a justice that could return, it will be incarnated by Marilyn Monroe. Because we all know this woman was what the world did to this woman, what America did to this woman, and yet when you see any film with Marilyn Monroe, anything, just you put her name on YouTube, anything, you are immediately connected to life, and you are happy. You are. I don't know. All the women I know love Marilyn Monroe. She is the only woman loved by all the other women. I think, like if you say John Crawford, I'm sure that you would meet a lot of women who hate John Crawford, but maybe I'm wrong.
Are there any Joan Crawford fans in the audience?
Of course, I'm sure. I'm sure. Me, of course, I'm obsessed with John Crawford. That it goes without saying, I'm gay. Actually, and I didn't have any obsession with Marilyn Monroe when I was a little. It started really when I was one day in Paris having panic attacks. You go to the emergency rooms in the hospitals of Paris. They look at you, they give you something, and they send you away. And one day I found in La Fnac, des Halles, there were 3 films with Marilyn Monroe. One of them was, what's the title in English? The 7-Year Itch. 7 ans de réflexion. You know that film? If you are one day depressed, just put that film, it will heal you. That film healed me, if I might say. I could not believe that someone was, she was giving me her hand. And now I kept looking again for the other films, and then I found River of No Return. River of No Return for me is like the story of humanity condensed in that movie. It's a story of prostitutes. The film starts with the magnifique Robert Mitchum, magnificent Robert Mitchum, coming out of jail, and he goes to the cabaret. It's a Western movie, and he picks up his son that he left with the prostitutes Marilyn Monroe, so he was raised by her. So they go away, the father and the son, and Marilyn Monroe at some point is obliged to join them, and there are so many enemies who want to kill them. And the whole film, they are on un radeau, a raft on a river, wild river, the whole film. And they are attacked from both sides. And of course, love happens between Robert Mitchum and Marilyn Monroe.
And it's an extraordinary novel, Les Infidèles.
My novel?
Yes, I loved it. And at the end, there is such a startling, the voice of God. I mean, that just blew my mind.
Well, God is dead in France, but not in me. I mean, I am a Muslim, and I grew up with the muezzin calling 5 times, and I loved that. The beautiful voice, like this human thing. My culture, my sensibility is linked to this thing called Islam. And it's not because today some people have problems with that I am going to change. No way. Because Islam, as we all know, is a civilization, is a history, is a lot of things. And all these things, they enrich even the illiterate people. So this history, this sensibility, the poetry, these great things invented in this time and era called la civilisation musulmane, it's in me. So actually I decided to write Infidels because of this, of what I was hearing in France, about the Muslims, about the Arabs. I mean,
It feels very timely. You know, it feels like it's of this moment.
I wanted to share something
Feels
beautiful
like,
that they
yeah.
don't know about. It's the idea of fate is in itself, it's not a bad thing. Fate, it could be religious, it could be Marilyn Monroe, it could be Michel Foucault, it could be, I don't know,
John Crawford.
John Crawford, of course. Of course, Betty Davis, so many people live because of Betty Davis existed. So I wanted to show something that is in me linked to what we call Islam.
Right.
And in order to do that, I invented, actually I didn't even invent, I just remember this prostitute who lived with us in Hay Salam, in Saleh, and how the society used her and at the same time rejected her. So I decided that this is the woman that will incarnate Islam for me. Like the one that is the pariah, the rejected, because they all want to have sex with her, but they would all not have nothing to do with her. So I invented for her a son called Jalal, and voila.
Mais c'est formidable. This
Merci,
is
madame.
marvelous body of writing.
Thank you so much.
Really, great honor and pleasure. And maybe we should open it to the audience, who I'm sure
Yes,
there are people
please.
who would like to ask questions. Yes.
Absolutely. We are here I'm here to answer. Yes.
So you talked about rhythm and like how your sentences and like your words flow from like the people around you, like the people that you listened to when you were in Morocco, and we talked yesterday. You talked about Arabic and like French and how you write in French, and but like your parents and your siblings speak Arabic, and how does that like how do you like write in French but like the dialogue is Arabic, or it's all like how does that translate? How does the Arabic like sentences and phrases kind of translate into French? Is it like natural, or is it just like I don't know? I'm kind of just wondering how you frame it.
Merci. Well, I think it's a chaotic thing in my head. I cannot say that everything is happening in French, but it is happening in French because I think earlier I was saying that I decided things, I forced myself to do certain things. It happened because I had to master French language, so I just wrote during many years a diary in French. That thing became a literary thing. But because I am not coming from, I was not in French school. Like French is not deep in me. I think I master it because I write in French, but somehow in my head, French doesn't have big roots. That's I think what brings the voices of my aunt, of my mother, the screams, the sorcery, all because writing, the language is just a tool. It could be. What is important is what you put what you do with that tool, the sensibility, the violence, the transgressions, the poetry, the images, the bodies, the smell of the bodies. It's all coming from the life you had and you have. Well, I hope it's clear. But it's all chaotic. We all know that writing is very hard. I confirm. I can't believe that I wrote all these books. I'm only 44. Like I don't remember how I was able physically to control my body and to convince myself that this idea is good enough that I am going to do a book out of it, and it's going to be to interest publishers, and it's going to be translated into English. When I try to remember this, I was this is invraisemblable. Why are they publishing all these things? Because it's all this you go through all these things with the chaos in you and your body continuing. It's when I hear that for some people it's a question of discipline, I don't understand. I understand for them, but for me it's not because I'm disciplined that it happens. It's because I force myself to continue with the chaos that it happens.
I think I read somewhere that you were the first openly gay person to be published in Morocco. So first, I'd like to know whether that's had influence on other, say, potential gay people and or writers in Morocco itself, and if you think things are opening up a bit more. And the other thing is you're struggling with sexuality. In France, I don't believe they recognize or acknowledge different categories like gay writers, black writers, everything is républicain, whatever. So was it very different for you in France as a gay Moroccan writer, or it was just not an issue at all? Yeah.
To be published?
Well, in France, did they just see you?
As a person or as a writer?
Oh, as a writer, I would presume they didn't care, right? I mean, that it
no.
wasn't an issue?
It is an
It
issue,
is an issue.
even in France.
Could you talk a little
I
about
am
that?
Arab. You should not forget
of
that.
course, of course.
There are still problems with the Arabs, you know that, in France.
No, but I meant as a gay Arab writer.
Well, still gay and Arab.
Yeah, but among the say the Christian French. I've been reading Edmund White's book, the Le Flaneur. Have you read that?
Which one?
The Flaneur.
Le Flaneur. I didn't read it yet, but I will.
No, the sense was that in republicanism, the way French see things, they don't acknowledge minorities per se. In other words, it's against the law in France.
Well, that's theory.
What?
That's theory.
Oh, no, sure.
Reality in France is something else.
I know.
You know, there are black people,
Yeah.
they don't care about them. You know.
And North Africans, of sure.
And North Africans. Yes, there is this idea, but the reality is much more complex.
Yeah. So could you
There are a lot
just
of discriminations.
Yeah.
You know, I think you heard of that.
Yeah. Could you just say something about what it is being a gay writer from Morocco, both in Morocco and
I think I don't know how to say this. I'm published in Le Seuil, that's a big publishing house. I got some attention for my books. I should not complain. So that's, I'm not going to say that I'm grateful, because that's not the right word. It didn't happen because France wanted me. I went to France and I worked in order to achieve that. So if there is someone to be grateful for, too, it's me. If I might say, this is not. I'm not full of myself. I'm aware of things in what is going on in France, the way people they see you, etc. The colonial issues in France, they don't want even to address them yet. When you start to talk about these things, they will tell you are still there. But for us, it's very important. Just the fact that I write in French, it's a problematic thing for me now. I can't believe that I spent all these years focusing in French and studying this French, which is not my language, and putting all these years and very regularly people would say, "Oh, tu parles très bien français, you speak very good French." And I think they would be happy. And the worst is when you are on a literary salon, salon de livres, and you see the books, and they would say, "Oh, you wrote all these books?" And you said, "Oh, yes." And they were, but I mean, you really wrote them? And then you said, yes. And then you didn't do it in Arabic, and someone translated you in French? I don't know the way I look, or I don't know, it doesn't scream someone who can. You say, so I'm very much aware of all this. It's not all these things. It's not because I am a writer and I write in French that I'm not aware of what's going on for the other people, the people they put in the suburbs. All these things are extremely problematic, and just what they are saying these days about the Muslim people, about Islam, and what I am expected to say about certain things. And some people, they think it's because I'm gay, I will be on their side, the white side, people's side. It's impossible. I I cannot forget about my father or my aunt, and they are somehow minorities too. It can't be only about me. That's what I was saying yesterday a lot. It's important that when you have the chance, because this is just big chance for me, that I am able to write and to be published and to get some attention. So the other voices should be with me, the ones that I can hear at least. Voilà.
Hi. So I'm wondering if you could talk about, or if you've noticed that your habit to lean on certain language, if you find that certain topics you might speak in one language and other topics you might find yourself drawn to another one, and then kind of going off of that, if you could speak about your inclination or your decision to write this chapbook in English.
No, I told earlier that the idea that the French language is the language of freedom it's not something that I believed in the beginning. So what's going on for me when I write in French, there is some battlefield there. I can be brutal. I can be at war. I can be punching someone. And that's what produces something interesting. It's because of this. In Arabic, it's because it's not because you master something that you can be able to create in it something. Arabic is in me, I don't know, without me knowing about it in the beginning. It's just linked to so many things. So, the narrative you would hear about in Europe about the Arab language, it's like a language that limits the expression of freedom. It's of course wrong, so wrong. If there are some limits, these limits are politics, because of some people running these countries that limit people from the. If you go back to, there are so many extraordinary Arab writers. Free writers writing in Arabic even today. It's not because the West doesn't hear about them that this thing doesn't exist. Voilà. English, it came because only Bard College invited me. I never thought that one day I will be translated into English in America. That's a movie, it's not me.
Can we talk about love for a second, the way you write about love? I reread An Arab Melancholia yesterday, and it strikes me that you are like excavating all of your experiences and the nuances of how you love all through up until to when the book ends, and it is such an intense experience to read it. And I'm going, why is it that I relate to every single thing that you're saying, and that it feels so universal? Everything that you say seems to be just dead on truthful about the whole experience. And yet it doesn't read like, like a romantic love novel or something. It's so much bigger than that. And by the end of it, I said, this is, and you're also so economical. It's like nothing is wasted, and everything is right to the heart. And it's like I was breathless. I was exhausted afterwards. And I'm going, why is it that this grabs me like this? And I'm thinking it's operatic. It's operatic. And I'm wondering if that's ever appealed to you or occurred to you to write for opera.
I know nothing about opera. I never went my entire life. I never went. But the songs, popular songs, are in Arabic, extremely important to me. I grew up with, you don't know them, Abdellah Halim, Kulthum, Fayrouz, and other singers in Morocco, Naïma Samih, Samira Saïd, the Shabi. And I live every day, I listen even to cheap music in Arabic, le rai, the rai, cheap rai. Like for the people who drinks les ivrognes, the drunks. You know, that cheap, dry of music for the drunk people in Morocco, I listen to it. So maybe there is a sense of the sense of music, because I think there is music in my way of writing. That's very important.
You're not afraid to be big, though, is what I'm saying. You're not afraid
Opera,
the
I
emotion.
really have not. I know who is Maria Callas, I know Mozart, etc. But when I force myself to listen to it, after 10 minutes, my brain is out elsewhere. I know. Kaltoum is an opera, yes. If we can think of that, there is something operatic, yes, in Kaltoum way of singing and addressing the people and the sky and the universe. That's luckily the Arabs had and have Kaltoum to give them this grandeur. And grandeur, unlike the opera in the West, Kaltoum reaches everyone. The illiterate, the poor, the drunks, people, les ivrognes, they drink cheap wine listening to Kaltoum. I mean, that's the ultimate homage you can give to any artist in Morocco, like the ones who are in the corners and smoking hashish, and the most romantic, the most beautiful image for me of an opera, it would be these drunk people that I witnessed, that I saw during so many years in Hay Salam in Saleh, in Morocco. Every Friday night and Saturday night, around 11, they start around 11 p.m. and they start with the cheap rye, and then Kaltoum, and drinking. Beautiful. One day I should do something about these people. The sensibility, the transgression, and the real love of art. The real love, because these people are poor. Opera, I don't think it's for that, from what I know. Kaltoum is for everyone. And plus, with Kaltoum, you have this idea, she's not only a woman, she's a man as well. Her voice is something else. Her body is something else. Voila, we should leave. But I'm so happy I talked about Kaltoum to you. Please go and put on YouTube Kaltoum. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.